Hey, hello, everybody. I'm so excited to see this packed out. Congratulations to you all because you made the effort to be here, which means you are excited about writing and excited about books, and which is a really great first step. So the name of my talk is Children's Book Writing and Publishing. I'm Denise Gallagher, author and illustrator, and I'll start with a little bit about me.
Oh, just click the OK button at the top.
Yeah.
Yep. You got it. Still not working.
Um, I said, my name is Denise Gallagher, and I started out as a degree in graphic design. Worked in advertising for 16 years, but I always dreamed about writing and illustrating for children. But I didn't realize how much there was to me. There really is a lot that I didn't know that I didn't know. After working and having a great career in advertising, I decided to kind of build up on my own, focusing on graphic design, but also trying my hand at writing and illustrating for children. I actually always wanted to be an illustrator, and the writing kind of came along secondly because I needed something to practice on. So I started writing in order to practice my illustration. And my first illustrated book was Genre Slasher Fiction, which is a folk tale by Barry Osley. And so that was sort of my first foray into publishing. It was not written by me, but I really had a great time working. It was published by UL University Press. And after I finished, they enjoyed working with me, and I enjoyed working with them. So they said, do you have anything else that you've written that you'd like to submit? And I actually had a tic-tac tale at the time. I had a book dummy, and I had a manuscript ready. And they loved it. It was published, so that was my first published book. Then I worked on Bearskin, which is another folktale, a Newfoundland folktale, published by Canadian Press, and I did the illustration for the folktale. And then my most recent book, which was published in 2017. And so yeah, so I have lots more down the pipe. I have an agent who is trying to sell novel, a middle grade novel, and a picture book. And I'm also working on an illustrated collection of folk tales from around the world. So that's just a little bit about me, so you can kind of see that know what I'm doing, sort of, like I really did a lot of research to kind of like anticipate the kind of questions you guys may have. But I'm going to talk to you about this is a little bit about what we talk about today. Writing, one of my favorite subjects. What we'll talk about is writing for children, just a little bit. And then the research that you should do, the writing you should do, editing, and choosing your publishing path, which is really the biggest question I think a lot of writers have. And so that'll have kind of levels to that, querying and marketing. So, so this is kind of an outline of what we'll go over today. So, first of all, writing for children. Let's do this. I want you to kind of ask yourself, what is your motivation? Why? What is in your, what's that spark in you that's making you think, I want to write? And really kind of think about that. Write what you know. That's kind of, but you don't obviously, like, I don't know, I wrote a book about a child in the jungle with the tiger, not really things I know, but it was about singing and friendship and things like that. So things that really were kind of important to me. I love music, sound plays music, so it really kind of was a part of my life. write what you want to see in a book. If you, I have friends of mine who said, you know, there's a book that I wish was out there. So, you know, if that's the case, you know, write that. If you think it's missing in the market and you think you are the person to write it, you know, then you should give it a try. Write what you like to read. We were all children once. We were all, you know, we went to or went to the library and had favorite books. If you are interested in writing, hopefully you love to read as well, because, you know, that's what a lot of preparing for writing is reading. So, so when you were a child, I'm sure you had favorite books. I had favorite books. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, had a library in her classroom, and even as I got older, I was drawn to the artwork and the stories that were in picture books. So I had this love of picture books, you know, starting from a very young age. Even as I grew, I would visit her classroom and pick out the new ones that she'd get. And you know, there were some, I actually have her very old patterned copy of The Sorcerer's Apprentice, but the illustrations were creepy and wonderful and just like full of life and full of creatures. And it was my favorite book. I have it very special. So that's what I was. So kind of think about, you know, what were you drawn to when you were a child? What did you enjoy reading? And then when you're writing, try different styles and voices. A lot of authors, new authors think, oh, you know, it has for children, it has to rhyme. And that's not true at all. It's actually very, very difficult to write. And I would suggest that if you don't want to rhyme, you don't have to. Rhyming is really, really tricky. And a lot of people, that's where they kind of get discouraged because they think it has to be Dr. Seuss. And Dr. Seuss was very special, and he had his own way of writing, and that was him. That was not, you know, everybody else. And so, and then read books in the genre you want to write in. So we're talking about picture books, chapter books, novels, and even YA novels. So there, you know, if there's a genre you love, go out, go to the library, go to the bookstore, and read as many books as you can in that genre. Because you cannot write what you are not familiar with. So the best way to study on writing is to read. And then creativity, you can't use it up. The more you use it, the more you have, which for me was a life lesson when I wanted to start illustrating more as a job, as a profession. I had to set aside time to write at least once a day, once a week. It's like a muscle, like anything you have to really, you know, like an athlete, or, you know, where we practice and it just keeps getting better. So be creative, try and do something creative at least once a week. Give yourself like little tasks or little projects to do outside of anything you're doing for anyone else. Just give yourself a personal project. And so the first thing, do research. And like I said, read, and read some more. That is the biggest thing that you need to do before you start writing is really read as much as you can. There was an editor who said, if you want to write a children's book, you need to go out and read 100 children's books, and not children's books from, you know, the 60s or 70s, whenever you were a child. Books that are current now. Go and look at the market, analyze what topics are trending, what art styles are prevalent, and really kind of study and figure out, you know, how does my project, what I'm thinking of, how does that fit in this world of, you know, like the library or the bookstore? Where will my book fit on these shelves? There are know the categories and word categories. This is very important. Before you even start writing or editing, you know, you really kind of have to know
what is being published and what is being purchased and just the trends in publishing. And there are lots and lots of blog posts and YouTubers and things like that who share. I subscribe to them, and you can read up. Publishers Weekly is a good place that has it's a good place to really kind of look at what's current and what's coming up. They post every Tuesday and Thursday a list of things that are coming up that have been signed. And if you just kind of read through, you kind of get a sense of what is out there, what's being published. This may seem like, obvious, but write your book. Duh. Okay. About 82% of people, this is crazy, report they want to write a book. 1% actually do write and publish their book. So you go out and ask, and this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this talk. So I have a lot of people that come to me and say, I have an idea for a book. What now? And that's, that's the biggest stumbling block, is that, they don't know what to do next. But the first thing is to write. It doesn't have to be perfect. Write your idea down. Write all of your ideas down. Carry a notebook with you. And, write, if you have many ideas, write them all down and pick one that, really appeals to you, or just keep sort of writing, because you can't edit what you don't have. So, and then the first things that you write are not going to be perfect. It's going to be your ideas. And that's the clay that you're going to end up molding to end up being your product, your book. So yes, write. That is the first thing. I was talking about word counts. Just so you know, categories and word counts are, especially for picture books, their goal is less and less. So every single word counts. So that's what, when you're editing, you really need to look at every single word, because it says under 1,000, but I made a note here. Where the wild things are, can anyone guess how many words where the wild things are?
25.
330. So
It's like,
yeah, in 10 sentences. And it's an amazing book, one of my favorite books. That's one that I loved as a child. And Maurice Sendak is my very favorite author illustrator. But most picture books are under 500 words. So that is, and that's where a lot of first-time authors sort of stumble as well, including me. One of the first steps, actually, when I decided I wanted to write for children, was join a group called SCBWI. It's the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. It's an international organization, and they have local chapters, and they have conferences. They have Zoom workshops. They have regional workshops. And I went to a regional conference in Dallas. And when you go, you can sign up for editors to sort of critique your work. So I had my picture book manuscript, and I sent it in. It was 1,100 words. And the first thing he said is way too long. And I was like, but I love every single word. But then I went and I read books and realized, oh, like they don't describe every leaf on the tree, and their picture books are just that. The pictures tell a lot of the story, and but the words, every single word has to be powerful and has to be exactly right. So it says up to 1,000 or under 1,500. My book Moves On is 508 words. Tit Tat Tail is 595. So yeah, so it's, and they were much, and I think it was Tit Tat Tail that was no, it was Moon Song, that was 1,100 words I started. So it was, I had to cut a lot, but it's so much better. Because it's snappy, you know, think about, families who are reading to their kids and, you know, and kids' attention spans and things like that. And so it's really, it's what is trending, and they're actually, it's really exciting. It's a challenge to take 500 words and create a story arc and characters and inciting incidents, you know, like, so it's being able to take 500 words and make all of that happen. And it doesn't have to be 500 words at first. Write it all down, write 1,100 words, and then start taking stock. So, yeah, so there are other books, early readers, which are those that are like sort of, Little Bear, Morgan Stanley, and things like that, chapter books, which are smaller, toted from, middle grade books are novels, just for middle school students. And then young adult are, you know, much more, more closer to adult. And those are much longer. So, editing can be fun. It really can be. And, you know, my first, like I said, my first foray into getting a critique was, you know, devastating, but it was kind of like eye-opening because, yeah, I just wrote like low, flowery, and, you know, like every single word that comes to my head. But, you know, but then, you know, I had a core of an idea, I had a story. It was just narrowing it down into really what was exciting. So editing goes to perfection before you even think about publishing, printing, illustration, any of that. What you need to spend a lot of time, and it could take a while. You could go through many manuscripts, get honest feedback, and that's not your mom or your aunt who's a librarian, or well, make it too librarian, but you know, get some kids, you know, like read to children. They may be the most honest, but join critique groups. We actually have in Acadiana a children's book critique group that I'm a member of, and we meet once a month on Zoom, and we have a great group, and everybody is really kind. And children's, I tell you, kid people are the most friendly and helpful people that I know. And we have this great group, and we've seen everybody, you know, on their different points in their path on the way to being published. And then different paths to being published. So, and we're all there to cheer, you know, when things go right, to commiserate when we get rejections, to share events that you can take part of. It's really a great group. So if anyone's interested in that, I can give you that information here. But it's just, if you are serious about your publishing journey, there's a lot to know. And that's like I said, that's why I'm here. But I'm going to go over stuff, but there's still going to be questions, because I tried to think of every question, but I know I'm going to miss some things, but and then we don't have, you know, 3 hours. So, but attend conferences or workshops, and you don't have to be a member of SCBWI. They have non-member rates that you can just go to a conference. And you, like I went to the conference in Houston. You know, I don't think it was a member at the time, but it was once again eye-opening, because there were illustrators there were authors there, and there were author illustrators. So it was great to meet other people who, you know, everybody's working on their own project, and everybody's project is different. So getting together and meeting people other creative people who are really like in their different paths on their, you know, their journey, different, you know, places on their journey, is really exciting. And you can learn a lot from just talking to other people who've been there, who've been through things, or maybe say, you know, I tried this, didn't work, or I tried this, it did work. That's another big hint, is to, you know, like really kind of, and that's what, like, you guys being here is, you know, is a great step in so you've written something where you're considering writing something, and so you're here. You may want to hire a professional editor. If you think that you're at that point where you're ready to, take the next step, publish, or, even like start querying or looking for editors or choosing your path, your publishing path. You may want to hire a professional editor first. You don't have to. A professional editor, because once you get to that point in your publishing path, you may have access to an editor. So this is just at this time, but I love this quote. The first draft is you just telling yourself a story. And I love that because, go sit in a coffee shop or go sit in a quiet place and just let the story flow. And, like all the details, think about your character, and you can even, I love doing this with children. I've done this before, where we talk about if you were to write a story and you had a character, describe your character, like, how tall are they? Or, what do they like to eat? What is their favorite place to go? And these may not come into the story, but it kind of helps you visualize your character, or or the land, or the the area where the story takes place. So really just telling yourself that story is a great place to start. Yeah, choosing a publishing path. This is the part that everybody is curious about. There are 3 paths to publishing, and no one is right for everyone. And at the end, I'm gonna have this little sort of guide with check boxes, so you can kind of say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want. But 3 paths are traditional publishing, self-publishing, and hybrid publishing. So first of all, think about what is your motivation for publishing. These are the overarching questions that we talked about. And what is your goal? And why do you want to publish? Because no one has right. So think about those overarching, because those are going to really guide you on your publishing path. First, we have traditional publishing. With traditional publishing, this is what most people think of when they think of publishing, especially the old school way of publishing, is the big 5, Clarion, Scholastic, and the big publishing companies, where you go and you get a query and they offer you like a big advance, and then you get royalties and you're set early, which is not true. But it is true that you don't pay it for traditional publishing. The publisher pays for design, layout, editing, illustration, marketing, and printing. All of that. You just sit back, you do the work, you do the writing, but you get less of a royalties. And you have less control. Because if you have written a book, if you are not a writer illustrator and you have written a book, they will pair you with an illustrator that they think will work well with your story, or maybe it's a better note. If you're a lesser known writer, they'll pair you with an illustrator who is better known. So because their job is to sell. And it's also not as easy to get traditionally published. It is, it takes a long time, a lot of querying, a lot of, if you may need to get an agent, and there's no guarantee of ever getting published, the traditional publishing. And that's just the facts, because, yeah,
Does it work or has it worked for someone to self-publish and then get the attention of these people without all the time and money that you just mentioned?
yes. We'll do a Q&A if you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay, because some of these, no, that's great. Some of your questions, like maybe, yeah, exactly. There are a lot of questions and there's a lot to know, but, I might answer it along the way.
And are you gonna cover, and so I don't have to stop and ask,
Yeah.
but about like ownership,
Yes.
copyright
Yes,
ownership of
yes.
stories?
Well, with traditional publisher, you have the copyright. It is published by, Scholastic or, like the big, but like I still own the copyright to Moon Song, even though it was published by the Little Press. And UL Press published as a cocktail, but it's copyright Denise Gallagher.
Okay.
So yes, that's a good question. Well, like I said, you get an advance. If you get a contract, they give you money to spend to, like, write. And you get help from the pros, you get an editor. Like I said, you won't have to hire an editor because they'll have an editor who will work with you. You don't have to find an illustrator, except in some cases now, some smaller, like Pelican, some smaller publishers will ask you to find your own illustrator, which sort of dismaying to me being as an illustrator, because authors who are just starting out don't have the budget to really hire an illustrator and pay them what they're worth. And so it's been this kind of push and pull. And so it's because illustrating, if you can get a book is 32 pages, a picture book is 32 pages, that is 9 months worth of illustration time. And so if you think about that, but some of the bigger houses, they will pay for that, and they pay for the marketing, although you might be expected also with smaller traditional publishers to do some of the marketing, or like they may ask you, you have a social media following, you have a website, those kind of things, because that will help them figure out how to market. And then with traditional publishing, you will get your books placed in the major stores, broader distribution, because that's what bigger publishers do. But it is more of a challenge. Someone said to me, it's like climbing a mountain. Like if you had a goal of, I'm going to climb Mount Everest, and that is a goal. That's what traditional publishing is. If you dream, if that's your dream, is to be traditionally published because that's what you want. That's kind of what it is. It can be a dream that may never happen, but and then you may reach a point where you're like, I want to try something else. So, the cons, like I said, we have less than creative control, slower publication timeline. With other publishing methods, you may be able to turn a book around in a year. With traditional publishing, it may take a year or two. It just depends on what they have in their pipeline. Lower royalties per copy, but you don't have to pay anything out of pocket. So there's kind of, and it's very hard to land a deal. There's no guarantee of being published ever. But don't take that to as dismay, because there are other self-publishing. In self-publishing, you take control. Self-publishing is digital publishing or publishing on demand. You have full creative control. You control what the book design looks like, what the book illustration looks like. You have a guarantee that your book will be published in a quicker timeline, and all the royalties are yours. But it's like starting a business, and you really actually have to start looking at LLC, or you should, because you will be spending money on hiring a book designer, hiring an illustrator, hiring an editor, and these are all things that you should not skip on, because, if you want your book to sell, and if you want to market your book, and if you want it to fit in, in the public, in libraries and things like that, you really have to kind of think about all these things, and you could, so you fund all and manage all the projects yourself. You can do it all, or you can hire experts. And that's the difference, is that you then pay the money up front. You get a higher royalty because the money that you spend, after it pays out, you get all the money, it's all yours. But if it doesn't sell as much, then you just have spent money. So it is like starting a book, it's a financial investment, and it's like starting a business. And it's also a little bit harder to get your book distributed, because you don't have the big, publishing house that's, distributing your book and doing all of that, and doing the marketing and all of those things. So, ready to start a business? That might be for you. If you truly believe in your book and you want it to be out there in the world, self-publishing is, I know people who have done a wonderful job at self-publishing and have done really, really well, and have series of books, and and they love it, and that's what they do. That may be for you. Now, there's also hybrid publishing, which is I have gotten some feedback about hybrid publishing. Some say it's a scam, don't do it. But you really, really have to do your homework and really, don't just go for someone that says, pay me $1,000 and I will publish your book, because there are a lot out there who will take advantage of authors who are just excited about their book publish. So, but I was looking online, and there are now, there's Penguin hybrid publishing. And so some of the big publishers also have a hybrid arm of their business, where but I would really there's something called writer beware, it's on that slide. It's where you can sort of do your homework before you spend any money. But with hybrid publishing, you pay it all upfront to this publisher, and that covers production costs, illustration, editing, cover all of that stuff that you would have to do yourself. With a hybrid publisher, it's kind of like, you're paying them to do all the things, so you don't have to do those, but you still get it published. Then you also get professional support, editorial direction from the pros, because the good hybrid publishers really want their products to be good. So they have editors, and they have illustrators sometimes on staff, and they want their books to sell, and it's published under their name. Is Crimson Dragon a hybrid publisher, and there's Mascot. There are other hybrid publishers that it will be published under like a house, like a name, like Penguin, or but it's a hybrid. Authors, you also receive higher royalties after it's paid out. And how with distribution, marketing, and publicity. So, that may be, if you don't feel comfortable starting your own business and having to be in charge of, hiring an illustrator over here, and hiring an editor over here, and book design, that is a beast in of itself. So this might be a way, but I just caution you to really do your homework and really study who it is that you're working with before you spend any money. Cons, quality is not always consistent. And that's another reason why. If you find a publisher, a hybrid publisher, buy some of their books and see the quality, just before you spend any money. You may, you have less editorial control. You pay for the distribution costs. So there's, and avoid publishers that accept every submission, because that can indicate a lack of discernment, which means they just want to take your money, and that's not all. But a selective hybrid publishers means they care about improving the odds of their success. So you really have to just do your homework. It's not, it's just one of those things that, you know, there are wolves out there who take advantage of authors who are really excited and just want to publish. So you really kind of have to do your homework and really kind of find the books that they've published and see the quality. And, you know, if there are typos or the paper's really thin or it just seems like they're publishing anything, you know, that it's poorly written, or, you know, then, you know, that's maybe not someone you would like to work. So where to start? For traditional publishing, the search begins by finding an agent or publisher. The best way to sell a project to a publisher is with a literary agent, and that's it's not true with like smaller publishers. Like locally, we have UL Press, there's LSU Press, there's Pelican Publishing, and so you wouldn't need an agent to query with one of those. And querying means putting together a package or with your manuscript and a letter, a cover letter, and send it to them, saying, you know, I would like to publish with you. A lot of the bigger publishers, they will not accept queries from unagented authors. So they only, and so if your dream is traditional publishing and your dream is, you know, New York and the big, you know, those kind of big companies, it's best to find an agent. And an agent will not take any money from you. An agent, their job is to help you perfect your project and then help you they already have a foot in the door. An agent is someone who knows all the editors, knows all the art directors, and they have contacts, and they will help you get your project published. And they do not get paid unless you get paid. So, so having an agent is really a great thing, but it's almost as hard to get an agent as it is to get a publishing deal. So, it takes a lot of work, and so publishing for children is not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of work, but it's really satisfying if that's what you want to do. If that's what you want and you love it, it's worth it. And then I said, smaller publishers may accept direct submissions, but this means querying. So querying. So get ready to pitch. So querying means studying lists of agents and publishers, check out their wish lists, follow them on social media. If you have this is again, the bookstore and the library is your friend. Go to the bookstore, go to the library, and see what's out, what's new, what you think, where you think of your book would fit. And check the back of the book and see, you know, who's the publisher. And you might be able to even find out, just do a little research and find out who the agent or the editor is, or the art director. And then there are places online where you can find their MSWL, which is manuscript wish list. So look at their wish list. If there's somebody out there who says, I'm looking for a novel that's, magical and, there's a boy that plays a violin, it's me, then query. It doesn't mean that they're gonna absolutely say, yes, I want to publish you or be your agent. But, it's just easier than, trying to query everybody. And they will appreciate it as well. Because they'll know if you just, sort of blanket, it's nice to put like a little, in your query letter, have like a list of things for query letters. You should always have in the query letter, the title of your piece, the genre, the age category, comp titles, which means a title you think that is similar, but not exactly the same. So that's another reason why you should go to the library or the bookstore and say, if you're a fan of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, you're gonna love my, middle grade novel. Or so it's just getting the attention of the person you're writing to. And then also, I see that you have published XYZ, and I think that you would love my book, and I love that book, and I think that you would love it as well. So, I mean, really just kind of adding some personal things in there. You should also add word count, and then your pitch, which is sort of a brief, a brief overview of your story, the character, maybe why you wrote it, and this kind of thing, a brief bio, and a link to your website and social media. So that's what a query letter should contain. And there are several ways that queries are accepted. Most days now, it's all online. If you go to, say you pick up a book and you look at the back and it says, the Little Press. Go to the Little Press website and they'll have submissions. And follow pretty much every publisher will have a submissions tab. And follow those submissions. Follow them to the letter. Because if you don't, that's pretty much automatically you're going to get kicked to the slush pile. Because why would they want to work with you if you can't even follow directions in querying? So, but it's not very difficult, but you may have to have several different versions of your manuscript or whatever. But yeah, so it's follow that and then start sending off your queries. You can send as many queries as you want. You may want to put on there just as a courtesy. This is a simultaneous submission, so that they know that other people may be looking at it. And this is a big one. Don't send illustrations unless you are an author illustrator. If you're not an illustrator, you don't have to send illustrations. And I get that all the time. Like, I've written a story and I want to publish and I want to query. Can you do the illustrations? Well, you don't need them. And that's where a lot of authors, they don't realize that you can send your story, just you can have maybe notes, like art notes, like I see this as a child wearing a blue cap or whatever, or I see this lion is purple, and but you do not have to have an illustrator unless you are an author illustrator, which is someone who writes the words and also does the visuals. So let's see what's next. Where to start in self-publishing? More research. So there's a lot of research to do. Choose a printer and retailer. In self-publishing, there are two big ones, Ingram Spark and Page through Amazon. They print on demand, which means you only print their copies that you sell. So you don't have to like get 10,000 copies of your books printed. This has kind of changed the game with self-publishing. because you can sell on Amazon or KDP, or English Smart, and they will just print as the copies are sold. So, and then you get royalties when they're sold. You do have to do marketing, and, the book layout, each one has a specific, template that you download. And either hire a designer, hire an illustrator, or, those kind of things. So yeah, definitely follow the template. And don't forget about the cover design, because people do judge books by the cover. So, like using AI or, like skipping on a designer, or an illustrator is, it kind of shows, and looks a little less professional. So as professional as you can make it, but I mean, you can easily self-publish, like within a year. So, but once again, it becomes your business, and you have all those details on. But if you're up for that, and that's what you want to do, then you have to think about what is it that I want to do, that I want to get out of this. Self-publishing continue. Hiring a book designer is helpful. Hiring an illustrator, make sure the art is not graphical, especially in picture books, because they're called picture books for a reason. Children are very perceptive, and if you go out there, there are a lot of people who say, oh, I'll do your picture book for $500. But then you get into a situation where they're using clip art, or they may be using AI, and it's obvious, and it is, you get what you pay for. So, really kind of keep that in mind. Because it's more difficult and costly to go back and correct those mistakes after the fact. And then you order approved, set up a product page, and then start marketing. So this is it's exciting. It's I know a lot of people who are doing great with this publishing method. It's different from when it was when I first started. It wasn't as easy, not easy, but they've made it really to where people can achieve their goal of being published. Where to start in hybrid publishing? Again, do your homework. Research hybrid publishers, look along with similar to your own. Check references and previously published books. Check status on Independent Book Publishers Association. They will tell you if they're on the limit, if they're someone that really is interested in putting out professional books. And there are there are publishers that really do beautiful books, and they're hybrid publishers, and some even do what do you call them? Fundraise, crowdfund. Yeah, so some even do crowdfunding to pay for. They help you crowdfund to pay for your book. So I'm working with a Bookling Media, and I'm actually doing book design for them, and that's their model. Their business model is they're a hybrid publisher, but they help their authors with book crowdfunding in the beginning that pays for, and then once the book sells and pays for that, then they get the royalties. So you'll also have to send a query and follow their guidelines. Once you figure out what looks like a good place that you would like to publish with, go onto their website and see what their guidelines are for querying. And this goes for everyone. How to lawyer review your publishing offer. No matter how you publish, traditional, hybrid, or just it's just, you don't want to be caught in some kind of, you know, clause or something. And you want to know who has the rights, the copyrights, that kind of thing. You should always have the copyright. In hybrid publishing, it's under, it's kind of like traditional where it's under a publisher like house, but you still have the copyright. And then marketing. This is a big piece that is one of the reasons why I like traditional publishing, because it's there's a lot marketing then is, you think, okay, you know, like I've written a book and I published it, and now it's just gonna go out in the world and it's gonna sell and it's gonna be great. No, you have to, there's a lot of work to marketing as well. And that's, especially if it's your business, and even in traditional nowadays, you know, you're expected to do publishing, I mean, marketing yourself. Not expected, but there are a lot of things like, you know, showing up to events or book signings and those kind of things, and doing like some social media stuff, that kind of stuff. It's a new marketing. I mean, publishing has kind of changed. It's morphing into like different kind of ways of being. And but yeah, you should especially have a sales sheet, and a sales sheet should contain like a picture of your book, a blurb, maybe some little blurbs about it, the ISBN number, the publisher, those kind of things. Create a website, or and creating a website doesn't have to be difficult. There are like Squarespace and things like that where it could look professional, and but it's still, it's another thing. Research marketing ideas, which especially shops, get your book in a library, which may mean bringing the sales sheet to a librarian, talking to the librarian, being involved with library events. Look to online communities for reviewers, bloggers, to get reviews. Reviews are very helpful. Schedule school visits and attend book festivals or paper events where you can sell your book, or do book signings, or do speaking events, that kind of thing. And attending school visits is really a lot of fun, because you can meet the children, I've done it in libraries and schools, and parents usually tend to want to buy the books then. So that's always a good way of selling books and marketing. So this is the decision guide. This is the last thing, and I kind of put this together based on something that I saw too. And this is kind of the way to help you decide what does success look like to you. Because I said there are these different ways of publishing, but success looks different to everybody, and you saw 3 different paths. So I'm going to go through. The first question is business in self-publishing versus traditional publishing. So as far as business, if you want to run a business, if you're ready to run a business and that looks good to you, self-publishing, it's check. But if you just want to write, if you consider yourself an artist, writer, you just, you know, you want to write and send things off to get published, then traditional publishing is more your style. Money. This is a big one. If you have money and you want your project to be funded by you, then self-publishing is a check. Or if you really don't want to pay anything and you want to send your work out into the world, and you believe that it can live and bring money to you, then traditional publishing. Control. With self-publishing, you make all the decisions. You have control over the typefaces. You have control over the size, every decision, which could be a good or bad thing. Every decision is made by you. You may want to make a decision, you may want someone else But yeah, in traditional publishing, the pros have control. So you're sort of working with professionals who do this for a living. And their goal is to make the best product that they think that they can sell. So that's traditional publishing, is they have control. Timeline. You want to be published within a year. Self-publishing. If you have patience and can wait 5 years, or, you know, like even to get, someone to look at your work or, give you advice, traditional publishing, career goals. If you just have one special project and you just want to see it out in the world and you believe in it and you just love it and you just want it to be a thing, then self-publishing is for you. If you want to be a writer and work on many projects and write something and then have something else come along or have other ideas and build your career as a writer, traditional publishing. Rejections. How would you deal with the rejection? If you don't like rejection, self-publishing is for you. There are no rejections. Traditional publishing, there are many gatekeepers. You have to go through agents, editors, art directors, lots and lots of rejection. It's more of a challenge, like climbing a mountain. But if that's what you really want to do, if that's in your heart what you want to do, traditional publishing. Reach. If it's more difficult to put yourself out there or just sell yourself, no, reach is more difficult. If you can put yourself out there and sell yourself, then self-publishing is for you. If you want to go out to book festivals and say, look at my book, and you know, and you want to go places and set, you know, library events, and there was a big festival at the Capitol last week, and it was beautiful. There were hundreds and thousands of books and booksellers and publishers and authors all strike, and it was amazing. You know, that might be for you. Traditional publishing has a larger distribution, so you don't have to talk your books. You know, you don't have to sit at a table and say, "Come check out my book," which is me. I don't like to do that, but other people may. You know, like you may. I love to read to children, but sitting at a table, you know, like it's not my thing. So, ego. Okay. If you are not worried about gatekeepers and you just believe in your book and you believe that it needs to be in this world, the world needs your book, self-publishing. If you want to climb that mountain and achieve approval from the gatekeepers, which is me, traditional publishing, I want it to be considered an author by the traditional publishers, but that's with me, you know, like that's my checkbox. So, you know, look at where your checkboxes fall and say, you know, what is it? You know, what does success look like to me? So, and that, I developed resources, supplying children's with writers and illustrators. I am the illustrator coordinator for the Louisiana Mississippi region, which means I work with the illustrators who live in Louisiana and Mississippi, and we do events and things like that. But we also, it's also a national, it's an international. Right now, they have every year 2 big conferences in New York, one in the fall and one in the spring. But they have smaller, and that's when I went to my first one in Houston, I was just like, these are my people, you know, like I really just loved being around creative people who wanted to write and wanted to illustrate.
And I wanted to hear about everybody's project, you know, like everyone you meet, they're like, what are you working on? What are you working on? And they also do a thing called first pages where they'll, you can submit like a sample of your writing and have editors like critique it in front of people without your name on it. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, literary agencies.com, director of literary agents. So that's where you would go and to see like who has a wish list that really stuff kind of coincides with what it is that you're working on. If you're looking for an agent. I personally do have an agent. I did not at the beginning. When I published a TikTok tale and meme song, but now my agent actually got me my current, the job that I'm working on now, which is it is a collection of folk tales that I'm writing and illustrating. It's a collection of 25 folk tales from around the world from a publisher in London. So my agent sent my work to them and they said, we don't have room for that, but we have this idea and we think that she would be good for it. And so I would never have gotten that job without my agent because she's the one who sold me. And so now that's what I'm working on. It's really exciting. But manuscript wish list, that's where you can find agents and editors for what they're looking for. And if you may find, you know, somebody that's looking for exactly what you know, like I did this picture book about a frog and it gets lost, or, you know, like, and they're looking for, you know, like pond stories or something, you know, it's really, you know, beware that will help you, you know, with the, just things to watch out for. Independent Book Publishers Association, that is, smaller, traditional publishers, and I think also, hybrid publishers. Children's Writers and Illustrators Market, that is a guide, it's a book, and it has a list of, and it also has a lot of really good information about writing query letters and just different things about lawyer contracts and all of that stuff. And then at home, this is some friends of mine that they do sort of coaching, and they, you know, they're really nice, and they, if you wanted to have someone to kind of hold your hand through the process, they're a really great group of women who can help you out there. So, and that is all. So good luck to everyone. Because I love a good Q&A question.
I have a bunch of questions. But the first question that I think, you know, when you're in art, like in the industry of design, you might not know this, but what would an accomplished illustrator charge? What's the range that you would, if you were self-publishing and you wanted an accomplished illustrator to do the illustration for a book, say that second tier, the 500-word book?
That would be between 3,000 and 10,000. It's just depending on the illustrator's their done, you know, before you could get someone younger. But like I said, there are things that I learned. Illustrating a book is not just like illustrating, doing one illustration. There's a lot to know about pacing, about page turns, about using space for copy. You know, there's just a lot to know about end pages and title pages, things like that. So someone, but if you go, this SCBWI website has a list of their members for illustrators, and that would be a good place to start. They all have portfolio pages, and you can contact them, and they won't be offended if you say, you know, that's out of my range, because they get that all the time. Or if they, you know, they may not have time at the moment, because like I said, it takes like between 4 and 9 months to illustrate a book properly. And then, you know, because you have to start with sketches,
and then revisions and, you know, all of that, so working
Because you're
back.
picking them based on their style.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
And this is another question. How many, in your experience with friends and people who do this, how many books go to, like, might go to print and you distribute it through a traditional method versus a self-publishing? Like, there's a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
in that, right?
Yes, self-publishing right now, especially with AI and stuff, a lot of people are just putting stuff out there because they can. And so a lot of it is not good. And that's unfortunate. There are people who are bragging that, you know, I wrote this book with AI and illustrated it in a weekend and now it's on Amazon. But if you look, you can see, you know, there was one, I saw a cover, and, you know, the child had six fingers, and then it was, the title was, you know, Philip loses his patience, but patience was spelled Patients. So, I mean, it was for sale on Amazon, because you can, you know, so.
But when you go to a traditional house, what's their first run look like on a children's book? Do they print 100, 1,000?
1,000 maybe, you know, like it depends on maybe a smaller, like Pelican, how much is Pelican run, you know? Did you have 2,500, yeah, so, yeah, so, you know, they have warehouses and they have deals with, you know, publishers in China, who, you know, make beautiful books and, you know, so it's just, it's, you know, and then smaller, you know, like, I would follow editors and, agents online, because they will often put online, oh, I'm looking for, you know, someone to do this, or I'm looking for some, you know, if there's an agent or an editor that you like, you really like their work, follow them, because they're often putting out little hints on, you know, what they're looking. So yeah, so that's actually how I got Moonsong published, was through a Twitter at the time, Twitter event. And I put a query, like a 240 word query, and the Little Press loved it, gave me an offer, you know, after my query. So yeah, it doesn't always happen, because they have Twitter events all the time, and some people don't get, but I just was lucky. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
If you're sending in your illustrator as well, are you sending in a formal illustration or just a sample?
That's a great question. If you want an illustrator, I would suggest doing pencil sketches of the entire book and 1 or 2 pieces of fine art. Because you do not want to do the entire book, because if there's a professional editor could change things drastically, and then a professional editor will then help you with page turns and things like that, and say, oh, you know, we might want to change the. Changing pencil is much easier than changing fine art. So yes.
Who will own the artwork if you wanted to create a poster, use that artwork?
The artist maintains the copyright to the art. Yeah, if you're the artist for another author, because I actually own like Peg Bearskin and John Fisher. The artwork is mine.
That's permission and something doesn't want it to do.
They haven't really done anything, but yes, they usually in a contract, they'll say, that you will, if they eventually want to do a different version of the book, or if they want to do a movie, say, or a cartoon or something based on, then yes, you get royalties, or you get based on that. So, so yes, oh, and then that should be in the contract, so always check the contract for, your rights. Yes.
So kind of going off that, if you're like the writer and illustrator, whenever you're submitting your final work, I know you mentioned 22 final pieces, should that be physical or should that be digital, like so that you digitally recreated, so that they have a high resolution?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so-
never send any final art
anywhere.
Okay.
Unless, you have a contract and everything. Yeah, I would definitely either get it scanned, or even like you can take a good photo and put it in
Oh, I just mean like the final copy, does it need to be, like, I know you're gonna send everything in digitally, but the final copy, does it have to be digital art, or does it have to be a picture of like?
Oh, no, you can, however you illustrate.
Okay.
There are so many illustrators because it's so easy to make changes and things like that. There are so many illustrators, like myself included. I start with pencil and like do most of my like conceptual thinking with pencil, but then I use Procreate.
Okay.
And, yeah, and that's because it's so easy to change colors or, move things around, if there are any changes and things like that, it's just, but there's still artists out there who do watercolor or oil paintings even, so, yeah, I mean, it's just whatever you're comfortable in as an artist.
You mentioned earlier doing a play with one of your books.
Yes.
When you copyright your book, I don't know which book you use, but let's use that book as an example. When you wrote your book originally and printed it and it was copywritten, did you trademark the characters that are now going to be in this play? Do you have to trademark the characters?
I did not. I'm in the process of copywriting now the play, because I wrote 5 songs to go. I rewrote the story as a play, and then wrote 5 songs to go to create this musical. So I'm now copywriting that so I can license it to other schools and performance spaces, camps, things like that, theaters.
Someone like King Herman, you're gonna use it.
Yes, that's a good question. And, once you, because I mean, I know like say Diary of a Wimpy Kid, he's now got Christmas ornaments and, of his character. And so I'm sure that he has his character trademark. So once you get to that point, that's something to think about. And then there would be something, there are lawyers who are entertainment lawyers. And that would be something to, maybe ask, someone with more knowledge than me, at that point. But I would definitely find out. Yeah.
You ask your lawyer for the play about trademarking and get back to them. I've seen them.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned the Society of Illustrators. Is it possible just to briefly explain a little bit more about them?
The Society of Illustrators or the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators?
Maybe that would.
Yes, it's SCBWI, and it's scbwi.org, and it is an international group of writers and illustrators who publish in all different ways, they're traditional, hybrid, and self-publishing. And there are chapters throughout the United States and abroad. We have one in Louisiana, Mississippi, which is the one I'm involved in. And but each chapter puts on events. You could, and they even have like events online that you could, pay like $10 to go see someone speak like I'm doing here. So but if you have, and oftentimes they have amazing authors speak, like Katie Camillo, or like really like big authors. And so it's an opportunity to kind of like see what they think and their process, so it's just great. For me, it was like a big step into being an author, like being able to call myself an author was being part of SCBWI. And I started as just a member and then, eventually got to be the illustrator coordinator, which I'm like honored to be because it's like, so, the whole region. And so I'm like friends with all these illustrators in Louisiana, Mississippi who write and illustrate for children. And it's a great community. So, yeah. Anybody else?
Is the at-home art, at-home author, is that the local critique group you mentioned?
No, the local critique group is,
we are actually, what is it, Acadiana? Yeah, we have a Facebook page, Acadiana Writers, Gail is in the group with me. But it's such a friendly group, and, you know, we've got people, after you come to a meeting, then the next time you can read your manuscript, and you'll get great critique, because everybody is kind, but honest, and we've all, like I said, we're all in different, you know, parts of our path. So, you know, some are traditionally published, some are self-published, some are hybrid published, some are not yet published, some are author illustrators, you know, so it's a really great group to get, like, to talk like this, you know, about the work of publishing in the industry.
And that's only for children's books
Yes, ours is.
at home.
Yeah, no, at home, no. I think I think it's just children's books. But the Acadiana Children's Books Writers, group that we're in is children's books writers. But we have some that are writing middle school, some that are writing board books, you know, so it's a range, you know, and everybody's work is different, so that's exciting too. You know, we have some that are researching people who, you know, like the woman who started the Kassachi forest, you know, like, and it's really exciting, so it's just, yeah, it's really neat, so. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, how did you find an editor? You can search like for children's book editors. I actually have done some editing, and that's, as I've gone along, I'm now a book designer, editor, illustrator, and author, and playwright. So, but it's like, yeah, but because I have a design background, book design just came naturally to me, but, having written now, several books, I can edit picture books. But there are other editors, and you can, in fact, in the children's book guide to writers, the children's writers and illustrators market, they will probably have editors listed in there, and that is a physical book, and it's a really good book. Lots of good information. All right.